I'm tired of making excuses for myself. I've been in therapy for so long. I've seen so many people. I've spent so much money. I have all these things and I keep doing it. And that's what bothers me the most. The pain that you cause people. I just can't do it anymore. And this is what brings me to where I am today and to why I emailed you.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors and ideators so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions, many millions of people try to take their own lives, and we almost never talk about it. We certainly don't talk about it enough. And when we do talk about it, when we engage with people in that kind of pain, or really any kind of pain, we are not good at it. So one of my goals with this podcast, as well as the tour, which is now coming to an end soon, is to have more conversations and hopefully better conversations with survivors, in large part to help more people in more places hopefully feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. Now, if you are a suicide attempt survivor or somebody who thinks about it or has thought about it and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. It's that simple. Shoot me an email. I'd love to talk with you. You can check the show notes or the podcast description to learn more about this podcast, including membership, tax-deductible donations, and all kinds of other things if you want to do more than just listening. But by the way, just listening to the podcast, and maybe people in your life as well, is more than enough, and I really appreciate it. Finally, we are talking about suicide on this podcast. My guests and I do not hold back, so please take that into account before you listen, or as you listen. I do hope you listen, because there's so much to learn. Today I am talking with Nicolas. Nicolas lives in Washington, D.C., and he is a suicide attempt survivor. Nicolas, hey, where do you live?
I live in Washington, D.C.
Are you associated with government?
Tangentially. I was a little surprised that you emailed me back, but I'd listened to a few of your podcasts. I was having a particularly bad Friday. I was on the metro going back home and from a meeting, a 12-step meeting, and I was listening to a lot of them, and most of their podcasts tend to be, younger people, and I could identify with their pain because I felt that pain at that time too. But yeah. I just felt that you didn't quite have this middle-aged, I've been a fuck up my whole life sort of story.
Well, yeah, you scroll enough, you'll find enough of the middle-aged fuck ups. I know you're a suicide attempt survivor. How many times have you tried?
Twice. It's super stigmatized in one way or another. And, I don't want to talk about it too much because when I do, the worst place you can end is in a psychiatric hospital. I've been there before. And that's the worst place. You get put on a hold and you're like, well, I'd rather die than be here again. Mm-hmm. But there's this space between having a really bad day and feeling depressed and, I'm going to do it tonight. And exploring that space, maybe it'll help people figure out there's other paths. Maybe it'll just help people find comfort in wherever they are. Because I think a lot of us feel really alone. I understand what you're doing, and I wanted to contribute in any way possible. And I don't want to feel like I am a net negative on the world. That's the biggest thing. And sometimes I waffle between, I don't see any other way to stop myself from hurting people other than to eliminate myself because I'm the problem. Maybe there is some good that I can still give. I don't know. That's the space you find me in right here. If you talked to me last week, I probably would have said, I'm doing it. One of the things that brings me great relief is to plan it. And then I can always say tomorrow. I get so much anxiety by not having a plan for how to kill myself that I do it. I have a plan. I can pull the trigger at any moment. And that gives me a great amount of comfort to know that I can stop this pain whenever I want.
Yeah, you've already brought up a few things that I think are not only fascinating, but are so misunderstood. Well, thank you again for, because, a lot of people hear the podcast and maybe even they're thinking about reaching out, but they don't do it, which I get. Mm-hmm. And then some people reach out and don't show up. And so you're here, which is great. And I appreciate it. Tell me about your first attempt.
My first attempt, I was in the beginning of high school and maybe the end of middle school. I remember it. I tried to hang myself with a tie that I had in my bedroom growing up. Yeah, and I just couldn't get it to work. And my mother found me, and then I had to start going to therapy for that. And it didn't really help. The
Yeah.
second time was in my 20s. I had a lot of painkillers because of surgeries I had for various sports injuries. I was unsuccessful with that, just made myself really, really sick. And I mean, maybe it's good that I ended up vomiting. And then here I am now where, I'm contemplating it. I did some research on somebody who had committed suicide with drugs. And so I have the right cocktail that I need.
Right now in your home, you have that cocktail.
Yeah. And it's weird because that gives me so much relief. Because it's here. It's all about stopping the pain because I'm in so much pain. The pain is really my own fault, which makes it even harder to understand the whole story. I have to go back. Yeah. I grew up in Minnesota, only child of two people who, I don't know, felt like they shouldn't really be together. My father, his whole half of the family, they're from Spain, right? He was a grad student at the University of Minnesota. My mother worked at 3M. It was fine. Later on, my father did tell me that implied that I was a mistake, that I kept him in the United States when he wished he could have gotten back. And that's something I carried around with me for a long time. Everything I think was pretty normal in my childhood. I had very loving grandparents on both sides. But I remember the day where my father sat me down and he said, I'm moving out. The next day, his friend came over and moved all his stuff out to another apartment in St. Paul. I saw him twice in that apartment before he decided to then move to Arizona, where he got a job at Arizona State there. So he was a professor there. And he essentially just, left. I would see him maybe phone call every few months, the typical not involved father. And then my mother, she's very needy. She needed to feel valued. And, she couldn't do that from a 12-year-old. So she ended up just becoming a workaholic and spending all her time there. So my whole life became like high school, trying to do well. I think that's kind of what I got after that first suicide attempt. Cause that was before that. But I felt like I was in high school, that was a thing. I had a tight group of friends and everything. For oddly, most people hated their high school experience. I love my high school experience. I'm a pretty academic guy. I excelled at that. I did sports. It was fine. It was good. Further alienated myself from my father. I remember I showed up once to his to Arizona in the summer. Awful time to be in Arizona.
Right? Yeah, come on, man.
So if this is an interesting story. So he picks me up from the airport and we don't go to his house like we did, every other summer, the 1 week a year when I would see him. But he took me to the zoo and then we're just sitting there, melting under the misters. And he tells me, you know what? She likes kids. Who is she? What are you talking about? And he tells me, oh yeah, I got married again. So I never met this woman, never did anything. She just got married again. And then I went there and he's like, oh, hey, this is I'm your stepmom now. That was odd. Later on in junior high, I'd start going with my father. He would do these summer things in Spain. He'd just leave me with the students, maybe not take me on some of their trips. But during one of the times I was sexually abused by one of the grad students. And I just mentioned this because I think this is kind of what started this path of what I would say I identify as a sex and love addict and just sort of started that. So, and I think I never really dealt with that. And that's what caused that first suicide attempt. But then I entered high school and I felt like I was accepted and things were good at that time. And that all kind of really changed after college. Went to college, went to law school, and I was no longer the popular guy, or I had a tough time acclimating. Went to college at Duke, which is in North Carolina.
That's near me.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I'm in Chapel Hill.
Okay, so I was just down the road. College was okay. I never really felt like I fit in. Didn't have a lot of money, and a lot of people there had money, and I didn't feel like I was. I don't know. I didn't really feel like I fit in there until the end. So I felt kind of lost, and how do I feel like I belong? I have these huge abandonment issues. I should have also mentioned that during my childhood, my father's youngest brother, my father was one of 9 in a Catholic family in Spain, and his youngest brother committed suicide in a horrific way. And that affected everybody. This uncle was awesome, man. He had a pet monkey, right? You'd go and you hang out with him and the pet monkey, Freddie. And I mean, I know not too many people get to hang out with the pet monkey, but I
Right. I mean, I've never, ever had the opportunity myself to
yeah.
hang out with a pet monkey.
Well, my grandfather was involved in the fascist Francoist government,
Okay.
and he got to go to Equatorial Guinea, which up until like the 70s was a colony of Spain.
Yeah.
Brought back some monkeys. Anyway, so the monkey was awesome, but he was at his girlfriend's house for like Christmas dinner, and he did a lot of like shooting. Like getting a gun isn't easy in Spain, but he really wanted to be like an Olympic level handgun shooter, right?
Yeah.
And so he like had trophies. He was working his way to try to do that. But anyway, he shot himself at the dinner table.
Ooh, that's interesting to like not do it alone. That's not as common.
No, not at all. And we all claimed it was an accident because we didn't like being honest about things. But it was only later on that I learned it was not. That was devastating for everybody. And to be on the other side of it too is interesting. There's another suicide as well. My grandfather, who was very close to, ended up committing suicide too in another horrific way. So I'm jumping back in college. Then I went to law school, and I told myself, man, if I just, do well, get a job, everything will be great. Ended up, law school is tough. Like this is super competitive and it's cutthroat. And I ended up clerking after law school. After that, I ended up thinking like, what's next? I got a scholarship to go study in Spain. I was like, yeah, this is, I'm going to make it. This is going to be great. I'll find purpose. I'll like have a job. Everything will be great. Coming out in 2009 was not a great time to finish up, and there was no work. I don't think I ever felt more alone, like mired in debt and alone. I started out in law school because I felt alone there. But what I really found out was that I felt like satisfied and I felt worthy if I could get women to like me. That's how I felt valued. I didn't feel valued from family or I didn't feel valued from friends, but I would feel valued from that. I think I was wanted them to like save me and fix something within me. This was like my drug, and I would get involved in multiple relationships. And of course it would like, they'd find out about each other and blow up. And it wasn't even about, having something physical with them. It was about having them like me. And that's what I wanted more than anything. And it feels silly to talk about because it's like, well, if you didn't want to do it, why'd you do it? Right. Just it's this powerful thing when you're feeling horrible that you can have this drip of somebody like, oh, look, they're reaching out to me. They're texting me. They must.
Yeah.
I would engage in this, like sometimes it would be like sexting. Sometimes it would be like, meeting up with people, but it was all in furtherance of just like getting the attention that I needed. And it made me feel like a piece of shit.
So it's interesting, right? Because you're doing something that simultaneously like you want or need and feels good, but you feel like shit, which I think is very a common way to think about addiction, right?
Yeah.
One other quick question though, because I don't want to jump ahead of in your 20s, I don't know if you were in law school or what was going on, you tried to end your life.
Yes.
We skipped that. I mean, we talked about it for a moment.
And there's another thing that I skipped too. During that time, my father started visiting me at the end of law school. I didn't understand what was going on. And this was all the same time that this happened, right? I felt belonging then. Like I did a lot of intramural and like club type soccer stuff, and I was pretty into it. And I suffered torn ACLs. So again, losing that connection was hard. Anyway, my father would come, and I didn't understand. Like, okay, cool, you're coming. You're like crashing on my couch for a little bit. It wasn't until I caught my mother in this giant lie about like where she couldn't hang out for Easter. And it was because she and my father were secretly seeing each other again.
Oh, wow.
That felt like it rocked my world. Because if there's any two people that shouldn't be together, it was them. Yeah, I also I didn't want to clerk. The clerking felt like a super backup. I really wanted a job, and I felt like a job at a big fancy law firm, probably because ego. I was super depressed at the time, and I was told to leave. I don't tell many people this, but the judge told me, he said a lot of things to me that weren't particularly nice, but he told me one day, hey, like, I hate looking at your face. You depressed me. And I lost it. Like, so all this stuff was happening at the same time. Like this job that I felt like I was too good for this job. I should have been doing something fancier. And then like feeling like I didn't trust my parents, feeling like I didn't have the outlet of this like extreme physical activities. I'd play soccer all the time, and I had all these drugs because at that time this was
Mm,
before like they knew how bad addictive these things. But I don't know. That's not my jam.
right,
I don't feel addicted to these, but I got so much of these painkillers.
right.
I'm just doing it, right?
Like Oxy?
Yeah, tons of it. It didn't. I mean, I threw up, so I thought that divine intervention there.
Maybe. I mean, question. So when you're 14, it feels a little different. I don't know why, because it's pretty young. But
Yeah.
like when you're in your 20s, so you painted a pretty clear picture of like what's going on in your life. But I sometimes admittedly ask some weird questions. But one of them is, do you have any idea why it was that day, that moment?
I feel like I didn't have anything. I feel like I didn't have anything to like live for, that I had no meaning, no purpose. Nobody liked me. I was never going to make anything of myself. I was just going to struggle on. And it was painful. It was painful. I felt very alone.
It's a building up. And that particular day or night was just the tipping point, so to speak. You downed a bunch of Oxy.
Yeah.
Nobody finds out about it, is my guess.
Right.
So how many people know about either attempt in the entire world?
You, whoever listens to this, believe I had told my most recent ex-girlfriend all this. Maybe not in this detail. And the way my brain works is I tend to jump around. So I've been trying to keep it sequential. After this attempt, I became very close to my grandfather more as an adult. Like he and my grandmother was in advanced stages of dementia. So she wasn't really part of his life. And so I like filled this role. We'd have dinner all the time. We'd hang out. He asked me to come over, like, hey, sit on my computer, my TV, whatever, right?
Yeah.
All the time. He was probably the closest family member I've ever felt to. Like I loved him deeply, deeply. Jumping ahead a little bit, this is when I ended up getting arrested for being suicidal. You know, he put on a 72-hour hold. But another thing that really hurt me, he also committed suicide in a horrific way. And I felt super guilty about that. He ended up taking his own life on like a random Saturday, but he called me. He was like calling me that night, but I was at a bachelor party, so I didn't pick up. But he left a voicemail. And he ended up drowning himself in the bathtub with tools. He put tools on top of himself and then filled the bathtub with water.
Never heard that before.
No, apparently, I don't know. He was in the Navy, and they were really into drowning was something, but people just jump overboard with like weights on them. I was angry at him, and I felt again like abandoned. And I don't know, that sent me in another spiral.
So you've had 2 suicide attempts.
Yeah.
You lost your grandfather to suicide.
Yo.
And you mentioned you had the monkey man.
Yeah, my uncle, Enrique. Mm-hmm.
Both in rather unique ways, but I don't know how much that matters, but it's just...
I think it punctuates things. I think about, I don't know if it's courage, but it's like the chutzpah to shoot yourself in front of your girlfriend and her family.
Yeah.
Or just the severe pain you must have been feeling to think like, I'm just going to drown myself. And that's not an easy thing to do.
And how long ago was that?
That was in 2012, 12 years ago at this point. One of the things that has been so hard for me is I would feel these like extreme emptiness with like career. I was super career focused and I would keep failing at it. And the only way I could get through it was like finding some woman, be like, oh, help me, bring me up. And then, then I'd always cheat on her, always. And I didn't want to, but I ended up doing it because I felt horrible, like a sack of shit. And then it's a little bit like, are you familiar with the book, The Little Prince? There's a line I really like from that when he's in the planet of the alcoholic, the drunkard. It says like, I'll translate it, but he says, I drink to forget the shame of drinking. Well, I would keep engaging in these little behaviors to forget the shame that I'd feel from these behaviors, right? Because I felt like a piece of shit. Like, how could you do this to people that you cared about, right? I would destroy their lives. And it was so hard for me to deal with. And I couldn't accept being like, I'm not a bad person. That's why I try to tell myself, well, I'm not if these people like me. So that's what I would just keep doing over and over.
Yeah. Until you stopped.
No.
Okay, until you tried to stop because you said you were in 12-step.
Oh, yeah, but that's the rest of the story.
You're in your mid-40s now, right?
Correct.
Late 20s and 30s is the career struggle / love sex stuff that you've described.
Yep. I started in Minnesota and I really tried to maybe get my head around it because I kept asking myself, like, why do I keep doing this? Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to keep doing this, but yet I find myself in these situations where I feel like getting good. Like, ostensibly good relationships, but I just keep doing this and I
Mhm.
hated myself for it. I actually ended up in DC, and I mean, so really, and I would chase relationships. When I was studying in Spain, I met this lady from Honduras, and I like, oh, this is the one, right? I like
Mm.
chased her to Honduras. I was like, had no job, but I hung out there for a while, like just teaching random classes at their equivalent of the like bar association, right? Because everybody wants to know about U.S. law. So I, did something just to, like, try to piece things together. Anyway, we had this grand idea that we could both go in DC and be together. Ended up finding like doc review work, which is like contract doc review is the legal equivalent of like mopping floors, right? It's just super mundane. You get like $20 an hour to do it, which isn't enough to like pay off your debts and everything. Sometimes I'd find it in like speaking Spanish and French. I could get jobs that were like in other languages, and so they would pay a little bit more. But anyway, I found
Right.
DC had the best market for that. So that's how I ended up in DC. Like I tell people here, I came for work and I spin a tale. But the truth of the matter is I could not find anything elsewhere that could like be enough to survive on. And I felt pathetic about it. Struggled here with this lady from Honduras. And again, I did the same thing again.
It's interesting to hear you talk a little bit about it, and I'm always very wary to go into any sort of psychobabbly stuff. It seems like you have this like really, really strong awareness, for better or worse, of all of it. So you're
Hmm.
probably not like a fucking sociopath or a psychopath.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's my gift I'm giving you. Yes.
I don't know. I don't even trust myself. I guess you're right to be skeptical about whatever I tell you, but
I'm not.
this is my truth as best as I can tell it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I am super aware because I've gone to tons of therapy, tons of work. I've done like EMDR stuff to try to like, what is wrong with me? I can't describe how hard it is and how painful it is. I can't to find yourself again to fail
Mm.
is so hard. And then more recently, like I've had a series of relationships that some are good, some were not. I was briefly married. She was also sleeping with her boss, so that wasn't a good thing, right? That ended quickly. And
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, have you ever experienced it where you met a woman who was struggling with the same thing, was also doing the same thing to you?
yes, and that was one of them. She didn't, it was awful divorce. There was other people in there, but I do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And most recently, I was in the longest relationship I've ever been in, 7 years. But now I have a stable job, right? I
Mhm.
have a stable job. I'm like actually have a few nickels to rub together. Like things are better in the professional sense. I still had a chip on my shoulder, but not really being the attorney that I wanted to be. But I've like gone to a lot of therapy for that. I'm more comfortable with it. This last one, I found myself doing it again, and it's awful. It's awful. I mean, I could psychoanalyze the reasons for doing it.
Well, but does it get more awful?
The acting out is what we call it, which would be like, what do you do? Right. For some people, it's like they obsess and stalk somebody because they're so addicted to this person. For other people, it's like, oh, I go to prostitutes. For other people, it's multiple relationships. For some people, it's, spending tons of money on websites and right, like pornography, things like that. So if I were to like put on a gradient, maybe my actions themselves aren't as bad, right? Like this last thing that I did was I ended up in a like sexting type conversation with somebody else. But why did I do that? I mean, I can think of the reasons. And every time it's like, well, because I was feeling bad because of X, Y, or Z, right? Oh, my
Sure.
girlfriend wouldn't marry me. She didn't want to commit to me, right? So therefore this like thing presented itself. But at the end of the day, I'm tired of making excuses for myself. I've been in therapy for so long, for so long. I've seen so many people, I've spent so much money, I have all these things, and I keep doing it.
Yeah,
Keep hurting people. And that's what bothers me the most. The pain that you cause people. I don't know if you've ever caused pain to somebody that you love and you like
I'm
look at
sure.
them in the face.
Yeah.
I just can't do it anymore. And this is what brings me to where I am today and to why I emailed you, right? The problem is me. And the only way that I can think of to stop this is to no longer exist. That's the only way I can be sure that I won't hurt anybody like this again.
as you've gotten older and you've done it more and you do it more, and each time you do it, is there like again and again and again, does it take on a different texture because now it's like one more time type thing?
Yeah. The texture, the actions don't take on a different texture, but how I
Right.
feel about them do. Just really tired of myself. I'm tired of doing the things I do, and I'm tired of telling people. I'm tired of losing friends because every time you do it, you have mutual friends with your significant other, and they all hate you. They're like, you're a worthless piece of shit. I can't believe you do it because hey, our society views cheating as, something, if it could be a crime, we judge.
It's interesting that you say that because, I mean, if we view cheating that way, what do we view suicide as?
That's a great question. I think that we have more sympathy towards that. I think that we feel people, they must have been in a
Mm.
lot of pain.
Wow. Okay. Wow, wow, wow. So wait, hang on. This is fascinating. So we know people judge suicide pretty fucking hard. You're saying perhaps in your experience, people judge cheating or cheaters even harder. But it just makes me think. Wait, is there like a higher level? Like, there's got to be even worse things. Like, what are people that like pedophilia is pretty fucking high up there.
Oh yeah. No, that's probably the highest thing,
I
right?
picked the highest one.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's anything else. You're talking about pedophilia, you're talking about child abuse, and then like a
Yeah,
step below that is like rape and murder. Cheating's up there.
cheating's up there.
It's up there, man. It is. I mean, maybe if the punishment for it was worse, we would just stone them and I would have been stoned. And
Well, there was a time when that I think happened, at least in fiction.
don't know if you remember the biblical parable, the stoning of the woman, and there that she had been accused of infidelity, right?
Right, right.
And Jesus went to the crowd and said, "Let ye without sin throw the first stone," right? And I consider myself decently religious. I go to
Yeah.
church almost every Sunday. It was something
Oh,
that I did to try to feeling so lonely. I ended up talking to a priest and have formed a pretty decent relationship
yeah.
with him. He was talking about the idea of like divine maternal or paternal love could fill in for these lack of feelings that I had of belonging. And I think that worked for a while, but I'm just so deeply disappointed in myself as a human being sitting here. I don't honestly know what to do. This is what brings me to this point where I can't be like this. I just can't do this anymore. I understand like people who OD on drugs because they say like, I just can't do this. I am a fucking junkie and this is all I will ever be.
Hmm.
And I can't handle it anymore. So let me just like go out being a junkie. And
I mean, it makes sense to me too.
yeah, and if I could do that, well, let me go out being a sex addict, I would. But
But
I
it doesn't work. Doesn't
don't
work
work
that
like
way.
that. No.
Don't know a lot about that world. Tell me, of course, if you agree or not. By and large, we judge women even more harshly than men with cheating.
I would say that there's an asterisk. I think it depends on the type of cheating. So having been abused sexually myself, I always took notes of, well, take note, but like it would stick in my mind when you hear about these teachers that would
Yeah.
have sex with like, their 12-year-old, 14-year-old students, right? And people are more fascinated with that, like, whoa, and whoa, isn't he lucky, right? But
Sure.
if the genders are reversed, it's like, let's find a pole to hang him from, right? Oftentimes these people are married, and so that is the cheating.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let's just be clear. If a male teacher is sleeping with his younger female student, we want to kill the teacher.
Oh, for sure.
If if a female teacher is sleeping with her younger male student, the narrative is more about like, oh, well, cool for the student.
Yeah.
All right. So that's one asterisk maybe, but like, all right, outside of that, which I think is probably not the most common form of cheating. I would have just thought we're more harsh to women, but maybe I'm wrong.
I will
Yeah.
tell you, in my 12-step group, most of the people that come there are men. So I have my perspective is a little skewed. I view it almost the same. Maybe we
Yeah.
judge women a little more harshly.
Or maybe I do.
Maybe you do. Yeah, maybe it's a you thing. I think if a woman were to have like their cheating would result in a child,
Mm.
I think in that case she's judged a lot more harshly than the other
Mhm.
way around.
And yeah, and then you could throw in other things about, did you ultimately confess? Do you feel forgiveness? There's all these other things that we might take into account that arguably is not any of our business, but we make it our business because that's just what we do. Because we're not following Jesus's lead, clearly. Now, by the way, you're a Catholic.
Yes.
Of course, I'm going to ask this question. As a Catholic, practicing, what does your faith feel about you killing yourself?
I go to a Jesuit church, and you probably don't know anything about Jesuits, but they're pretty hippie when it comes to
Okay.
Catholics, right? Like we have a gay pride mass. I think that, but it's a sin, right? It's a sin to take your own life. It's a sin to do that because God gave you this life. You're supposed to live it for Him. However, we sin all the time. And I have a whole book of sin. How is this any different? If all sins are the same, this one's the same.
They're all the same?
You can go to cardinal, you can go to like mortal sin, right? Not, but that is kind of like depends on your interpretation, right? If you're all sins are the same, essentially. I don't really prescribe to the like some are worse than others. You know, if I do die, and there is an afterlife, and I'm going to be judged for it, you know, I'm going to say like, hey man, I did the world a favor. Not only did I do the world a favor, I was in so much pain that I just could not tolerate it anymore. Did you hate me? Have you forsaken me so badly that you don't care about the pain I was in?
Right.
Did you not care about these other people whose paths I would cross and hurt? I did the world a favor. That would be my argument. And I mean, maybe I'm willing to roll the dice on that, right? Or maybe none of it's real and it doesn't matter. And the only thing that we see is this fade to black and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some risk involved. No guarantees here.
Everything's a risk.
Did you know, you probably didn't know this, but I think my grad school was a Jesuit university. It's Fordham University.
No, yeah.
I'm guessing the thing with the Honduran girl didn't work out.
No.
Okay.
It did not work out. And
Well,
again, it didn't work out because of what I did, right? I stepped out in different ways. Like it wasn't always physical, but at least emotionally in every single case, I would step out. Sometimes, Sean, I would have like 2 or 3 girlfriends at once, right? And I don't know why I thought it would work out. Like, and I feel guilty about hurting some of them. So I just would like accumulate messed up beyond belief.
you have no choice but to also be just constantly lying.
Yes.
That alone tells me to some degree, the degree to which you, let's say, needed to do that, because that's a hard life. Maybe you get used to it. I don't know, but just constantly lying.
It is true. And to keep it all straight, to have to like hide what you're doing all the time is awful.
Yeah.
It's just awful. And this last one, I had cheated on this girl at the start of our relationship, and we tried to she never really forgave me for it. We tried to move on. So now you're talking about years later, and then she finds out I had this sexting conversation, right? I just keep doing it.
I didn't ask you this question, but it's related to this conversation of where you're at now, which is last 15 years, whatever it works out to be. Are you somewhat regularly ideating? Because you had already at that point tried 2 times.
Yeah.
So how often do you think about killing yourself during those years?
Every time I have a huge blow up. So I've blown up my life in a significant way, 5 times. And so every blow up, I feel it, right? It bubbles up. And one time I was telling a friend about it, and then they called the police. And then I ended up in the public psychiatric hospital, which is an awful, awful, awful place, especially the public one in DC. And there's an experience I never want to repeat. So I'm not sharing this with people. Right.
Well, this is one of the reasons I have the podcast.
Yeah.
Because you can't talk about it, because sometimes when you talk about it, you end up in a place like that, which they are often horrible. I've had 2 stays, not DC. How long were you there for?
I was there for 2 days.
And you had to lie to get yourself out.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that day. I'm curious to know what happened.
They take you in handcuffs, which stinks. You're taken out of your apartment in handcuffs. You're put in the back of a police car, and then you're taken there. And it is like jail. And, they take your shoelaces. They do that. There's no place to sleep. And you have conversations with people there. And everybody, oddly enough, a lot of people in there were arrested in the metro or other places for being naked. That's a theme. Anyway, I was talking to this one guy who told me that he got arrested for being naked in Metro Center. Because he said, why does he need clothes if God forget everything? So I was like, okay, that makes sense to me. He told me, he's like, they take your phone, they take everything. And he said, I can get your phone back for you, and you can make calls. And I said, yeah, man, I'm listening. He's like, just let me make a call home and I'll give you your phone. Right. So he was going to call Africa. I was like, yeah, okay, this deal. He steals my phone. I call my friend who was going to come that week. I was like in New York. I was like, Ben, you have to help me out here. Call this place, help me get out of here. I need your help. And then I give this other guy the phone, and he gets caught with the phone. So they just assume he stole it, and he gets taken away. Because of this interaction, my friend, he ends up like calling the next day, and he agrees to come down
Mm.
from New York, and that's what gets me out of it.
So if you didn't have a friend, who knows?
Yeah, I would stay there forever. And it's not like you're getting psychological help or anything.
It's insane, fucking crazy. Just to be clear, the police come and put you in handcuffs and take you there because you were acting in a way that concerned a friend of yours?
He and I don't speak anymore, but yes, I was telling him he was my first sponsor in the 12,
Oh, shit. Okay, okay.
and he told me, and I did have enough. I had a boatload of sleeping pills and whatever when the police came. Like I had the drug cocktail all there. I was like ready to go, and they did find it, and they took it and they took everything.
When did that happen?
Around the same time my grandfather killed himself. So
Oh, it's a while ago.
yeah. That was like 2013 or something. Yeah.
So how is it that you end up looking for a podcast with the word suicide in it?
Well, recently, so I blew up my life again, about a month ago or so, and I was feeling super suicidal, and I'd go into these meetings on Fridays, and I just taking the train to these meetings, and so I was just looking for podcasts, and I'd listened to it for 2 weeks and gone through a few of them, and that's what caused me to reach out, and I know some of these people seem a lot more interesting than me, but I could feel their pain in things, and I kind of connected to that.
Yeah, well, you got your pain too, so.
I don't know. I feel like a cop out for saying it's an addiction. I want to say it's a personal fault, but I try to have grace with myself, and I waffle a lot on that. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. I hate it, and I loathe myself on a very deep level. Sponsor tells me like, hey, pretend you're a decent human today. Like tell yourself you're that, and just like try to get through the day. And everybody tries to tell you, oh no, you're an all right guy. You're an all right guy. I don't feel like an all right human. No, I'm deeply disappointed in myself, but I don't judge other people as harshly as I judge myself. I've met people who've committed some heinous crimes, either through the work, my legal work, or whatever. And I don't feel the same way about them as doing myself, and I don't understand why. But I can control me. I can't control them, right? I don't know. I just feel like I'd stop the pain and do the world a favor. Two birds, one stone.
So if I give you a pill, I give Nicolas a pink and purple pill. He takes it. If he takes it, he just goes to sleep, and it's nice, and he doesn't wake up, and there's absolutely no pain, and nobody knows it's a suicide. So it's 10:30 p.m. Monday, July 28th.
Yeah.
We're both on Eastern Standard Time. I recognize if I asked you last week or perhaps next week, you might have a different answer, but all we got is now. So what would you do with the pill?
I mean, I would stare at it for a long time. I've listened to other people's answers like, oh, I have this concert to go to. I have this to go to. I create these mechanisms for myself as well. But you know what? I think I'd probably take it today. Yeah. I mean, there's no mess. So last week I was traveling for work. I traveled quite a bit for work, and I was sitting in a hotel, and those are the loneliest places. I was in this hotel by myself, and I'm deathly scared of being alone because that's when you're really with your thoughts and like, this is when I want to do it. But I thought, how traumatic for the poor cleaning person that has to come and like find you. But if you give me that pill and I wouldn't have to worry about that aspect of it, they're like, oh man, this guy just, whatever, brain aneurysm, heart attack, something. No, I would take you up on that. My whole raison, I hate being me, right? I hate this pain that I give other people. I hate this huge flaw that I have. One of the things that stops me is like, even though my parents, I don't think were the best parents to me, but it would hurt them a lot. Do I want to cause more pain through that? Right. And then these are the constant calculations that I'm making in my head. There are people who are very kind, and I do love friends, and they would feel awful. But if I just died, you would solve all my problems.
It's not real.
I know, which is why I'm still alive, which is why I'm talking to you.
Worked out.
Today.
How many people know we're talking?
One, and then I think my ex-girlfriend went through my email before I had a chance to change my password. So she probably knows. But other than that, just one other person that I've actually told.
And they know it's about suicide?
Yeah. If I would have had a sister, it would have been this lady. We work together. I'm godfather to her children. Like, we're really close. She and her husband, they're very close to them. I tell them almost everything. They're who I go spend Thanksgiving with because I've fucked up my life so many times. I don't really have anybody, right? Don't have a family. And that's always bothered me. I always imagine myself with a family and in like this like relationship and this thing I want the most. I can't have because I'm too messed up to make it work.
Yeah. In that way, we're the same. We got here. We got here in different ways, but
Can I ask you about yours then? How did you get here?
I live a very lonely life. I don't have much of a family.
Mm,
And I mean, even like the family I grew up with, I haven't created anything. When you were saying making dates or plans so that you wouldn't let people down, so that would be like a reason to live, like these little moments just to get by, I think I'm actually in some ways in the most dangerous part of my life. And I don't usually talk about this much only because, you know, I really do want to focus on who I'm talking with. One of the things, yeah, that you said that completely resonates is I've got like 12 conversations that I've yet to edit. I'm like, I have to edit them.
mm,
There's no way that would be doing the greatest disservice ever if someone spoke and then I didn't. I don't have to edit, but I kind of do because
yeah.
it's just better that way. And then by the time those is done, though, there'll be more. So it's an interesting thing where I wonder if this thing is the main thing that just keeps keeping me alive. And I'm not even freaking out about it, which is the scariest part.
You tell me this, and I have this urge to try to convince you otherwise, right? Whatever. I feel that you have more value to this world than I do. And I want to try to convince you that no, this shouldn't be last year, that you have important work left to do.
Mm-mm.
And I realize that this is what people try to do to me, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then my question to you is, do you have that same feeling when people, because you talk to people all the time, they're like, yeah, I have I'm sitting here with a gun right on my lap, right? And when we're done, I want to stick it in my mouth and pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel this urge to tell people that, you know what, brother, I think you should stick around for a little bit?
No, that's not because I don't feel it.
Yeah.
There's a difference of what I feel versus what I say because I take this work very seriously and I'm so fucking clear in my role. Not everyone agrees with it. I mean, and by the way, like in my life, if somebody said they were suicidal, it might not be that different than on here. I don't think I would be quite as here. I would just be more like curious about stuff where in my life, I'm sure I would act a little differently, but I'm just not someone to tell others what to do. And I don't want people doing it for me. If I want it, I'll ask, and then I want it. I mean, it's a simple, I'll ask you for your help or your thoughts or your ideas or your advice, but I'm not a big fan of unsolicited advice. But I would understand it if the roles were reversed and I was telling you things and you're like, holy shit, this guy's going to fucking kill himself. Because the reality is, based on our conversation here, it seems like a 50-50 shot that like, you're not making it to 46. What do I do with that, right? And let me ask you this question. Me saying any of the stuff that you were tempted to say to me for a moment, would that make a difference?
So I think at the most, what you would do if you were to say these things to me, I'd be like, okay, like, here's this guy, pretty nice guy, whatever. I met tonight. He said these things. He didn't know me. He said these. Maybe I need to ruminate on this for a little bit. So I think it would buy a little bit more time at the very least. I've had times in life where I've just been so depressed. I was going to talk about this, like how I feel these monsters living within me. And one of them is this depression monster. One of them is this like acting out monster. And they live in me. It's like having a disease, each one. And I need to sort of tend to it like one would like diabetes or some other chronic thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had times where that like depression one has been so loud that I can't even handle anybody saying anything nice. I like want to feel as bad as possible. I want to feed it. Music is a great way of doing it. The more sad song you listen to, like it really feeds that. Like, but Elliott Smith, yeah, just play that. Those moments, I wouldn't have been receptive to that. But now, today, as I sit here, I probably would, and I'd probably think about it for a day and be like, and then the weekends would roll around and they're so hard. And, I'd pass my ex-girlfriend and she'd tell me what a horrible human being I am. And then be like, okay, yeah, listen that one. And then
the ex-girlfriend wins. The real secret here is that I actually think if I do this role really well, it buys some people time, much more than if I had magic words. Does not apply to everybody, of course. Everyone's different because it's not just buying you time, it's buying listeners time. So the more and whatever doing it well means, I've got my own metrics, I suppose, and I get feedback. The better I do it, the more likely it is the conversations just are really fucking raw and real and honest. And I think that helps more people feel a little less shitty and a little less alone, which is the sort of tagline, but very real for me. And thus, therefore, less likely to act on that.
I guess I when I emailed you, I was thinking, you know what? Maybe there is somebody else listening to this who identifies as a sex and love addict, and they're like, I cannot stand to live with myself, or I just feel very alone.
Yeah,
And me, I feel alone all the time. Mealtime's the worst, but if anybody can be relieved from that, I mean, you are doing the work. I'm just supplying you an ingredient. And it's like, well, if I can, give somebody this feeling of not being alone, then there's something good can come out of that.
for sure.
I
Yeah.
wish I could do more to help humanity. I just don't know what to do. And I just feel like a net negative. And that's just where I am.
That's such an interesting way to say, because you said it earlier too, a net negative. It's like so corporate sounding. A net negative. Like, look, we haven't even gotten to your memoir title yet, which we have to talk about, but I'm wondering if that's in there. There's something about the Jesuits and the way you describe them who I feel like it can make we could find some room in there, but any ideas? I mean, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but
I wish I had a good idea for it, but I mean, the net negative is interesting because it resonates. But nobody wants to read a memoir that is being a Debbie Downer. I think what it would have to be, there'd have to be the whole idea of the hero, right? Where you overcome adversity. Nobody wants to read the story. So in my mind, maybe this is corporate speak. I'm like, what would get somebody to want to read this, right? It can't be negative. There has to be some sort of positive revolution to it.
well,
But
hold up.
yeah.
First of all, are you already writing the book?
No, I mean,
Well, because we're just talking title ideas. Are you? Well, but I have to point something out here with the Debbie Downer thing. Who would want to read a book? And you might have some. There might be some truth to that. But if we're not writing and selling it, then who the fuck cares who might read it? Number one, and
mm,
two, who might want to hear people talking about suicide? Yeah, there are people. Apparently, I've been learning for the past 5 years.
yeah, the pain of being a net negative.
Oof. I'd be curious about that. You could always counteract any perceived problems with your title with a solid subtitle.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's always that. You make it a little italicized. Nobody's going to buy it, but you feel great. You'll put it on Amazon. 3 people will buy it. 1 person will review it. It's going to be that woman, your friend, who's the person who knows that you're talking to me because she's nice, and it'll be a mediocre book, but she'll give you 5 stars because she loves you. Maybe far more depressing if you hadn't done it, but we try.
She'd convince her husband to buy one too. So it'd be two.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, the writing is a hard way to make a living.
So is podcasting. Did you ever get a diagnosis you agreed with?
Just acutely depressed. I mean, I've had many depression diagnoses. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I am very depressed, and I'm not medicated right now, and I probably should be. I hated the medication because I felt like it really dulled my senses. That I have crazy dreams, and I just want to feel like whatever pain it is. I don't want to pretend it's not there because it's still there, even if I'm medicated. Right, my arm's still broken, so I don't want to know that it's not broken.
So if we could go back in time, I'm thinking about you at 14 and you in your 20s when you
Yeah.
attempted those 2 attempts. If you knew then what you know now, sort of how your life turns out, would you have wanted either of those to work?
I'm not gonna lie, right? If I look back at my life, I've done some cool shit too. But then I think, well, if I would have died, I wouldn't have known all the cool shit I missed either. So, did it matter if I ran with the bulls? I wouldn't have known that. I just would have been.
Yeah, with the bull, that's kind of cool.
So, yeah, I've done a lot of cool shit.
I don't know if doing cool shit makes people happier, by the way. But maybe that's a conversation for another podcast.
Maybe, but no, because there's something behind that, right? You did that with somebody, right? You had those experiences. Life is all about shared experiences. And those are all memories that I have with somebody. Like, oh, me and my friend George, we just went to Pamplona, we like just ran it. It was like crazy experience, right? Or me and my friend Aaron, we went to the Philippines and we ended up in a bar called the Shire. There was all little people.
Just write the fucking memoir, and now you have a place to put them all. Hey, you know what? You could just do like an audio memoir, almost like a podcast.
There you go. I dictate, have AI write it, right?
Yeah, just talk.
Yeah. Still think it's in that negative. So if I'm being sort of altruistic about it, I should have done it in my 20s. I can't help but think about these people, but it's not like I had a bad interaction. I spent like 4, 7, 3, whatever the town of time of these people's lives that they feel like I wasted.
Do they feel that way?
Oh, for sure. People don't leave a relationship with me with fond memories. Nobody thinks like, oh, I wonder how he's doing. They probably spit to the side and be like, I hope, like, I never want to hear that name again. Every single one has been a blow up. No one's wished me well. I've wasted time. I like, what have I done to these people? I hate it. I absolutely, absolutely hate it. And they could have been pursuing better people, better lives. That's what I hate. And I can't change that.
I don't think we can change that unless there's some weird parallel universe shit going on. And even then, sometimes I say to people, if you wanted to have a conversation with somebody and talking about your thoughts on suicide or your plans, but it's not a if with you. You are suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anyone to talk to? This could be a long list, but I'll limit it. Like, no cops are coming to the door. They're not going to make you feel like shit. They're not going to do all the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So basically someone who you would want to talk to about this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyone.
Did I trust enough to not call the police on me?
For sure. Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I don't trust anybody for that. No. Because that's the thing too. Like, there's a space in between I'm going to imminently do this. Like, this is going to happen tonight. Because that's the only really reason to call the police. Like, it's going to happen now. And there's this space where maybe if you can talk about it and not have that threat hanging over your head, that you talk about it, maybe you find a way out of it, right?
Right. 100%. Yeah.
And here's where you come in.
It's certainly something I agree with.
Yeah.
I also understand all the bullshit with the cops and all that ridiculousness aside, because they shouldn't even be handling this stuff. And there's just so many problems with that are inhumane and should be illegal. Obviously, these people don't know if it's tonight or not if they hear you talking.
Understood.
So that I understand. You might know, but I get their fear.
Right. I mean, you'd have to be honest about that. But no, I don't trust anybody enough to that point. I don't trust anybody enough to be like, listen, I have the cocktail drugs that I need to like make this happen today. And I don't think I'm gonna mess up this time, right? I think I've done enough research and that I know what I'm doing.
Right. So that also so that means that you have no one that you could have a last conversation with.
No, I'd be like my grandfather. He left a message. It's just, hey, I was just calling to see what you're doing, but it seems that you're out, right? That's it.
And I'm not saying you want to, but if you wanted to say goodbye, that's not really an option. If you wanted someone there, hold your hand. Not really an option.
I think everybody that listens to this podcast, and we it's a disease of loneliness too, right? We all feel deeply, deeply alone.
Yeah. Any myths or misconceptions that you want to dispel?
I don't like the term mentally ill. I think I wish it could be more normalized that people would feel like this. I don't think it's like you're horribly sick if you have these thoughts or these feelings, and it's a spectrum, but I don't like that. And sex and love addiction, right? I mean, my heart goes out to a lot of these people in there, and I wish there was just more grace towards everybody. We love punishing people, and we rush to do it. Even criminals, we're very draconian as humans. We do a lot of bad things, and I think we need to have more grace with one another, and then maybe that'd create more honesty, right? Maybe if it weren't so looked down upon, or maybe if I felt like I could have been honest, that I couldn't be honest, because the second I do anything that gives me down this path, and I tell somebody or tell my partner or whoever, like then it blows up, and then it just festers and it gets worse, and then eventually it gets found out, and then right. So
yeah, and then eventually you just stop talking altogether. You give up.
Yeah.
I think middle-aged people, and I was going to say middle-aged men, because for some reason, like, you still have some time ahead of you, but like, you're at that point where you're like, yeah, this isn't working. Happened to be one of them, and I think I happen to be talking to another one. I don't need these conversations to end like on an up, but I am curious about something. So it might end up working out that way. What in your life, if anything, helps?
Anything that I can do where I feel like I've had a positive effect, that brings me some joy, right? That helps. So volunteer work that I've done, if I do stuff for immigration, a lot of people need help. That brings me some joy. Even the small things, like there's this woman in my building who has no legs, and she's in a wheelchair, and she was stuck outside a while ago, right? And I felt good by bringing her in. But then I think, am I having this like savior complex about things?
When's your birthday?
It's in December, end of December.
Few months away, several months away.
Maybe tonight I will have a moment of clairvoyance, and I feel like somebody has reached me from the beyond and I need to stay alive. I don't know. So I'm in the process of moving out from this, place where I live right now. And then I'm going to go live by myself at the end of August. So it's probably going to be there. I'm losing my dog, right? Like if you play my life, it's going to sound like country western song, right? Losing my dog. So there's nothing else. Nobody will depend on me. At work, whatever, they'll just find somebody else to fill my spot. But nobody's like, I need him to be alive for my survival. So I won't have that guilt. And if it's going to happen, it's probably going to happen next month of September. But I'll let you know. Would you be disappointed if I said I was going to do it and then I listened to it and I changed my mind?
No. Wait, you think I want people to be fucking killing themselves?
No.
You just asked me if you listening to my podcast kept you alive. Would I be disappointed? No, I would think like it's kind of one of the reasons I'm doing the work.
No, that's fair. I'm sorry.
No. I think it's an interesting thing to explore. Even if it was like a temporary reprieve. I think about this in such like micro moments that I'm like, even if, and it could be you, but just as likely other people hearing it, even if it gives them just a few moments of feeling less shitty or less alone, it's worth it to me. I'm like less about, we got to save everybody and zero suicide. I just want somebody to be able to hear another human being and be like, because I've experienced it on the other end and I know how powerful it can be. And I know how fucking awful it is when all the stuff, and I'm going through it. So I fucking get it right now.
Yeah. This conversation has been interesting. It's been you're very non-judgmental about it, even when I feel like I said something that you could have found offensive. It has me thinking about things. I'll probably think about it for a while.
You're a thinker.
Too much so.
Well, I'm sure it served you good in some ways. Thanks for talking, man.
Of course.
I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to tack on?
When I was thinking about talking to you, I was worried about like not being able to hold it together. I don't know if you've ever talked to somebody that's like broken down and like tears, but I've been able to do it. Like I had a really bad interaction this evening before I talked to you with my ex. These words, just like these self-deprecating thoughts, just like bubbling in my head. And maybe now I'm just using you as like a sounding board, but how I'm just so weak and pathetic. And if I had any ounce of strength, that I would have been able to stop myself from, having this conversation or that conversation or not lying about it and not hiding it. And I was thinking is like, I don't want the reason that I don't kill myself to be because I'm too cowardly or too weak, as she put it. I want it to be intentional, being like, I intend to either stay alive or not stay alive, not because I'm too scared to do it. Thinking about that I was going to break down talking about it, but that's the last thought was going in my head because nobody likes to hear that about themselves.
I mean, particularly from someone you care about.
Right.
That's really interesting you share that because I rarely have heard someone share with me the kind of space they were in leading up to our conversation, but people are living their lives, obviously. And then at some point, zap, zap, bing, bing, boom, zoom, and then I see their faces and it's like, boom, here we go. It's this little snapshot.
And I'm seeing a therapist tomorrow, so I'm probably going to talk about this.
Say good things about me, would you please?
Oh, of course.
No, I won't know what you say. I'm going to go have a drink. I really appreciate talking to you and I hope your evening doesn't suck.
No, it's about almost over. I need to sleep.
Sleep well. Take care. As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. Special thanks to Nicolas in DC. Thanks, Nicolas. If you are a suicide attempt survivor or ideator and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. I would love to speak with you. If you listen on Spotify, check out our weekly poll. If you listen on Apple, we would love a rating or review. It really helps people find the podcast. And of course, we want more people to find this podcast. Thank you for your support and for helping out and mostly for listening. And that is all for this week's episode. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I will talk to you soon.